have the level 1 approval. We don't wish to approve anybody else's courses, but we present CPD-related courses, training courses for younger people or just wishing to widen their expertise. If I see all the snake oil salesmen offering CPD courses, I'm wondering why all this red tape is there and how these other people are managing to avoid it. Perhaps you can explain. Thanks.
Okay, Peter, I think you've now raised two important points, but I'd like you to elaborate on the second one around how others are able to do what you've mentioned to do. And I think you've made an important point, and I wanted you to elaborate on that.
All I can say is my inbox is flooded with offers of courses offering CPD points, most of which I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. And I just wonder how the hell they got there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Johan, I see that your hand is up, so I'm just wondering whether it's a related question, then I can address that one.
Yes, I can give the answer to you. Okay. This is what ourselves, meaning IPET, Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists, and myself are doing. We're busy creating, and we're nearly finished with it, a web application whereby service providers can go and register. We verify them to make sure that they are verifiable, for lack of a better word, and then approve them from that site. And then from there, they've got their own portal where they can upload their CPD events, which we allocate validators or assessors to make sure that it is 100% fine. And then after that process, to close the loop, we send it through to ECSA. In that process, we know that it's secure, it's stable, it's safe, it's auditable, and it's got a proper track record of that, so that we know that whatever gets sent to anybody in the industry, know that it's gone through a proper audit process. So that's how we do it, and that's how you eliminate it. Yes, you will always find a lot of, what do they call them? Slippery, snaky, I don't know what Peter's term was, but you will always find them. You can't get rid of them. It doesn't matter. All you can do is just block them so that they don't come into your emails.
Okay, thank you for answering that question, Johan. I think those points that you've made most likely answers most of Peter's points. But I just wanted to just elaborate on that. Is that the whole idea of this process is that, okay, firstly, you'll always find that there is a fine balance between quality and control, and if you look at this process, strictly speaking, we have delegated the majority, if not almost all the functions to the licensed bodies. Okay, so just to also just clarify is that quality assurance process is what we've now stipulated in more detail in this new standard, so that we prevent those type of activities that you're mentioning, Peter. And we are hoping that would reduce with time. We have also come up with a process that if you as a licensed body, and this may also come up a bit later, but if you as a licensed body have declined a specific service provider, and there's always workarounds, but if you've declined a specific service provider for a specific course, you would notify ECSA of that specific provider or course, which we will make available. We are still defining some of the background processes that will assist you with this. So it means that if the same provider tries to go to another licensed body, they would find that a little bit more difficult. And at this point in time, the current process is that, I mean, even if a service provider doesn't do a specific or great job in one area, they can move on to the next. So I think the whole idea of this process is to really bring up the quality of the CPD provision that we have to our engineering practitioners. And I think the process that we have is a fine and a reasonably well process that we have that manages both quality and control. So in that essence, we are saying that as much as we allow licensed bodies to recognize their own service providers, they cannot recognize themselves. So ECSA will recognize themselves as a service provider, but you are still, as a licensed body, you will be validating your own activities. So although we believe that there is a potential conflict of interest, but at this point, we believe that if you are a licensed body and if you've applied for a service provision and you are well aware of the rules as any other registered individual would have been in terms of their rules, is that we are allowing licensed bodies to validate their own activities, and ECSA will not get involved in that. So what ECSA will do is that in the overall quality assurance process is that within a 3-year period, we would come and conduct a review. I hope I've clarified those points, and hopefully it is much more clearer than the mud it was in a few minutes ago. Are you fine with that, Peter?
Yes, to a certain extent. I've just put a comment on the comment box, which I think you need to take note of, and that is comparing the ECSA validating process to the SATNAV process. ECSA is still in the Stone Age. You can apply for validation at 10 o'clock at night and you can have your validation within seconds. Check it out. You guys will be, I think, shocked. Thanks.
Okay, not a problem, Peter. We will definitely do that. What I would like to allude to you, which will be coming up, and the validation of activities, though, which will be done. In fact, validation of activities will be now done by licensed bodies. Okay. ECSA would only look at international activities to a certain extent, and will explain what that means under validation. But if there are better processes that if any organization does come across, we would like to know about it, and we would like to review it, and then we can also share that information, with everyone else. In this review process, what we've also done is that we've gone through some of the research around CPD. Johanna, I see your hand is up. I'll yes. Come to it in a second. Is that we've also gone through a research process around CPD, more specifically, and we've also looked at practices around different parts in the world in terms of what they've done and what is, specific and peculiar to us. But I would also like to allude you to is that, and if I miss this point under validation, and I know I'm above my time now, is that there are specific aspects around validation which may be regulatory of nature, which may have to do with aspects around safety, health, and so forth. And the way that one validates those type of activities, I know that some countries have split them up, and they've had different types of validation activities based on the risk of those activities. Remember, if we administer a training program as a service provider, or even as a registered engineer, and if there are aspects that's related to safety and regulation that are incorrectly applied in those training programs, which could result in inadvertent consequences, there's a whole host of consequences that come with it. And I think a validation process becomes quite important for that. So I just thought of mentioning that point so that we are aware of it. So I see 2 hands up, and I must move on to the next part of the presentation, but I like the engagement. So, so if I can just take those hands. So Johan first, and then Kevin.
Yeah. Yes, I'm thinking, at the risk of sounding arrogant, I was a consultant who was appointed to put in that SACNA system that Kevin is talking about. So that full-blown system was developed and orchestrated by me. So if you want to know exactly how it works and what the story, you can give me a shout, and I can show you what I've done there and how we orchestrated that, just by the way.
Okay, thank you, Johan. I think we will definitely take you up on that offer. Kevin?
Often in staying up with international best practices, you want to attend overseas courses remotely and things like that, but it's actually very difficult to get these courses now CPD accredited without going through all the process or you need to go through the process, but getting all the information required by ECSA's new document to actually get it validated. How do you propose that's going to be addressed, or will you discuss that later?
Okay, I think let me discuss that under validation of activities, and I'll discuss the international activities, because what we've been doing more recently is that the task team has been validating the activities themselves, international activities, because we also wanted to test that process, because there's certain aspects from the international arena that you may not be able to get readily from the service providers. So we can share with you that type of detail, maybe under validation. I think you were most likely alluding to that. Is that correct?
Yes, often the marine engineering is a very tiny field in South Africa, so you participate in a SNAME presentation in Singapore or something like that, which is all excellent stuff and very valid CPD, but to get that information registered here is going to be impossible.
Okay, I would, if that specific case, because so far the ones that we've had, and I think we've had about maybe 20 or 30 of them in the last 6 months. If I can't quite remember the exact number. So, and I've not come across those that were difficult from a validation point of view, but I do note that when it comes to international activities, certain types of information will be a little bit more difficult to attain. So we can also use your specific case as a potential test case if you would like us to do that. And we can just test that activity and let you know how that works out.
Okay. That later.
Okay, thank you so much. So, so over to you now, Ivan. I'm not sure if this is the time for the break, but you can just let us know.
Thanks, Yashin. Yeah, maybe we should check. Should we take a 5-minute break, or can I finish the section on the CPD ECSA recognized bodies and then take a break then? This will possibly allow ourselves just to check the availability of the other facilitators, Yashin?
Yes, that is fine for me.
So the time now is 1:07 on my side. Can we take a break until 1:11? Is that okay?
Yes, I think it's fine on my side. So let's do that, and then we'll continue with your presentation at 1:11.
1:11 it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I want to go to court. You must pay everything. Because everything was paid every time. I don't want any more to that time. So first thing, you switch on that light. Second thing, yeah, I know the second thing I'm going to do. So I don't want any more stories for you. You must just start paying. Okay. So don't switch on that light whenever you